but I'm a little worried. I'll be honest, Jordan. I think that I'm a little bit worried coming into this draft because I don't think my confidence is where it used to be. The arm length has become a big discussion in Kansas City as of late. I wrote a story about it as well up on arrowheadreport.com. And to me, does it matter? To me personally, no, I don't think it matters all that much. It doesn't matter if you have long arms, if you have short arms. It's what you do with the arms. For me, that is what really matters. But for the people making the decisions for the Kansas City Chiefs, it matters to them. And I think that Ken Swanson in the KC draft guide, man, if you haven't bought that draft guide already, you need to go and get it because there's just so much good information in there. I really like it. It really puts all the prospects measurements in front of me. That's what I like about it too, especially when I'm looking at guys. It's like, okay, I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't want to Google it. I can just easily scroll and find their measurements, stuff like that. But Ken Swanson wrote another great piece in there about arm length of tackles. And there's only 6 top 20 tackles that have arm length above Andy Reid's average of 34 and a quarter inches, which is kind of concerning. And when you look at the rankings of all those guys, they're not first round guys. They're second round guys are the highest, but they're more likely third, fourth, fifth round guys in that meet or exceed that Andy Reid prototype of 34 and a quarter inches. So that means one of two things for me, Jordan. I don't know what it means for you, but for me, when I look at that, I think, okay, either one, the Chiefs aren't going to draft a tackle in the first round. That means the Chiefs might wait it out till the third, fourth round to draft a tackle, and it's entirely possible. I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't even be surprised if that happens at this point. Or number two, they're going to overdraft for a guy. Now, I say overdraft in the sense of for us and our boards, it's an overdraft, but the Chiefs have their board. They know what is going on. And I promise we might have a little bit of overlap, but they're probably not at all very close. So I think that that's kind of a bigger concern for me is the Chiefs are going to overdraft for a guy that you don't even hear, like maybe Stone Forsythe at 31. You're thinking, oh my gosh, like that guy does have really long arms, but why are you taking him at 31? Yeah, they got more guys on the inside. I get it like that. But I wouldn't be surprised. Don't be shocked if they don't go tackle at 31, or if they go edge, or if someone falls that way, because there's been some rumblings about other players that are kind of projected early second round picks going in the first round. So I think someone will fall to the Chiefs there that maybe they don't quite expect. So I wouldn't be shocked if they don't go tackle in round one. What are you thinking about this now, Jordan?
I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I get that teams have different parameters that automatically take people off draft boards. Like for some teams it's injuries, for some teams it's arm length, for some teams it's weight, for some teams it's off the field concerns, whatever it may be. For me personally, like I think if you can play, you can play, and I think that you agree with that. Jim Mora Jr. brought up a redeeming quality. Like Liam Eichenberg, his redeeming quality is that he's ready to go and he's good at everything. Like
Yeah.
he isn't going to be a bad player. He has the redeeming quality to where his arms aren't necessarily long. They aren't necessarily T-Rex. They're not great. They're below average. But I think he'd be okay. Now for the Chiefs, maybe they don't want to go there. I think that there are possibilities that they are going to go outside of their traditional parameters, even for a defensive end or something. This is a different era of Chiefs football, I think we're getting into, of where they're still trying to contend, but you have to start getting some value in the draft. You have to start looking a few years ahead because you can't replace every player on your roster via free agency every year. I mean, you could do it. You could try to do it the Patriot way. Even they have rookies who do well and then leave once they do well. I mean, we saw that chart on Twitter of undrafted and rookie snaps played since 2017. Chiefs and the Patriots were the lowest on the board in terms of teams that had the most success, in terms of teams in general. So it's something that's going to be interesting. I still like the offensive line class as a whole, but to say that your confidence isn't as high as it once was, I think that's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah, and if they do take a tackle in the first round, I won't be shocked either. There's not. I'm preparing myself for a lot of different scenarios, and I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. I should say.
Yeah.
First round's usually a best player available anyway. So if that best player available ends up being a cornerback, if it's Greg Newsome or a safety, Trevon Mulrig Woodard, I think you got to take him at that point, especially if you don't have a guy that Andy Reid typically likes. I think he's only played two tackles, right? Cam Irving and Mike Rimmers, that have less than his prototypical prototype tackle of 34 and a quarter inch arms. So that's not nothing because Andy Reid's been around the block for a while. That's a pretty decent sample size. So that's just all really interesting to me. I don't know if it means anything, but I know that people above us, above Jordan and I right now, care a little bit more about arm length than we do. But why don't you say, Jordan, we get right into this mock draft?
Sure, but quickly, I just wanted to
Yeah,
add something in real quick. Like, we don't know what the Chiefs are going to do. And people think that, oh, the Chiefs can see they need a tackle, they can see they need a defensive end. Tyrann Matthew still hasn't signed an extension. Like, what if the
right.
Chiefs secretly don't plan on retaining him? They plan on cutting that cost and letting him walk. Then if Trevon Moehrig's there and he's the pick, he comes up. And another thing is like, if the Chiefs draft positions where you get angry and you scratch your head and you say, well, they don't need that, then they turn out to be really good players. No one's complaining anymore. Like when Clyde Edwards-Helaire has a big season, people aren't going to complain and say, oh, they shouldn't have drafted a running back. There are still going to be those few people, but if those players are good and you go best player available, you just don't address needs necessarily immediately in the draft. Like I'm just a pessimist, I guess, but I
Yeah,
tweeted out like earlier this week, in the first round, you look for a starter. In the second round, you look for a key contributor. In the third round, you look for a possible contributor. After that, you're looking for developmental guys who may be able to fill needs down the stretch. Seventh round, you're looking for a camp body or a special teams guy or a hidden gem. Like the draft is hard. The draft is a crapshoot, and really, there's luck involved. There's scheme fit involved. I mean, it's not as simple as oh, player good at football, player play for team, player be good. Like there's so much that goes into it. But I'm excited for it also, and I'm excited for our mock draft. So let's go ahead and get into it.